Hey, I'm back and here to talk more about the coronavirus that is spreading throughout the US. I live in Washington, where it is currently spreading in the Seattle area, just down south. I'm up north of there. So today we're going to be talking about some frequently asked questions, some facts, or some information that's out there currently about the disease, questions you might have as it approaches your area or if it's already in your area. So that's what we're going to highlight today. My previous video, which I've linked in the comments, is all about being prepared, some things you might think about buying and being ready. So be sure to check that out. Okay, one of the first questions you might have is, what is this virus? It is a respiratory virus that is traveling pretty rapidly throughout other countries and now the US, and it is primarily transmitted from an infected person to another, usually by droplets from them sneezing or coughing near you, or it getting on you, your clothing, or on your hands, and then you later touch your eyes, nose, mouth. It somehow gets into your system. It could also be transmitted by things they touch that you later touch, and then you touch your face or it gets into your system. They currently do not know how long it can survive on a surface. They don't have all the numbers for that yet, but compared to other viruses that have spread in the past, they believe they can live on surfaces for several hours up to days if the temperature and everything is ideal. Higher temperatures, it's not able to survive as long on surfaces or clothing or things that you touch, but currently it can survive for quite a bit. So that is why it is easily transmitted. That is why it's so vital to be always washing your hands. If you're out and about, make sure you have at least some hand sanitizer. That's not going to 100% protect you, but if you're out and about, going in and out of stores, wash your hands when you can. If you can't, use hand sanitizer when you don't have a sink and soap to lather up and get your hands all clean. That is why they are saying that is the best method for preventing from getting the virus. Another common question you might have is, what are the symptoms? How do I know if I have it? How do I know if people around me have it? Obviously, the only for sure way to know you have it is the test, which actually takes some time to get results back from. But some of the main symptoms that people are having, and people who have had it have said, are sore throat and a cough. Usually starts out, it seems to be the consensus with all the reviews I've read or stories I've read, is it gets into your system and it starts out in your throat, usually with a sore throat, cough. Your body's trying to fight that out, get it out of your system. Well, as your body starts to fight, your temperature is going to rise. That's going to be your next symptom. Probably going to get a fever. That is your body's reaction to fighting off this infection. It's actually a good sign that your body is working hard to get rid of it. Then the next symptom, if your body is failing at getting rid of the virus, it can go into your lungs. This is when it becomes a little more dangerous and deadly, can get deadly, is when it develops and gets into the lungs and you develop pneumonia. Older people and people with underlying diseases or heart, lung disease, or diabetes have a higher risk factor if these symptoms develop and if they contract pneumonia. It just becomes harder for your body to fight off the infection if it's already fighting something else. So that's when it can become very dangerous, and definitely need to seek medical help at that point if you haven't already. So if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, you call your doctor. I would not rush to the ER. Who knows if people already there have it, and maybe you don't, and you just have the regular flu or something. Be sure to call your doctor. Most providers, especially in our area, as they get ready to gear up that this might travel here, most providers are going to have a plan, and they prefer that you call in, tell them your symptoms, and they will have a plan and tell you what to do. At this point, if you suspect you have any of these symptoms, or you suspect you've come into contact with someone you know has had it, you should be wearing a mask. If you go out in public, you should not be hanging around with a bunch of people and potentially spreading it. If you are sick at all, even with not symptoms of the coronavirus, you should definitely be staying home right now because you have a weakened immune system and your body's already fighting something, whether it's the coronavirus or not. The excellent news here is kids are not as likely to get the coronavirus. They actually might have it, they are just less likely to display symptoms. And their symptoms may include the things I just told you about, and headache, diarrhea have been other things on top of those other symptoms, and runny nose are some other symptoms that children have shown when they've contracted it. The problem is children can still carry it. So they may show no symptoms or signs of having the virus, but they may be passing it on to you as your parent or if you work with children. So currently, as of today, no children under the age of 9 have died from the coronavirus. So that means their little bodies are excellent fighters. They are fighting this infection way better than our bodies. As you get older, that risk factor goes up, or if you have an underlying condition. So that's great news. If you have children attending school, yes, they could contract it, but they're less likely to become severely ill from it. The other thing I've read a lot is that people get it and will have no symptoms. So some people are carrying it. I think that's why it spreads around cities and countries so quickly, is you can actually have the virus for up to 2 days to 2 weeks before you start showing symptoms, which makes it very difficult if you have been to quite a few places or been everywhere in those 2 weeks and you haven't even shown any symptoms. So you didn't even know you had it and it was getting spread around. So those are the main things about symptoms, and be sure to talk to your provider if you have any concerns with you, your children, or somebody you've been in contact with that maybe has symptoms and you're concerned. Be sure to talk to your doctor. They should have some great information for you. I was watching a really awesome news segment about the coronavirus, and it was a researcher from Harvard who was talking and discussing the projections, like what is kind of the outlook for the U.S. What is likely to happen. He said it's projected that between 40 and 70% of adults will contract the coronavirus, which seems kind of daunting, but he said only a small percentage of those will actually show symptoms. So it's a good chance that a lot of people who never got tested or have been tested, some people have tested positive and they had 0 symptoms, but they were in an environment, perhaps on a cruise, or they had traveled to an area where the virus was spreading rapidly, so they were more likely to test positive for it, so they were tested. And then other people who actually display symptoms, that's when your alarm bells need to go up and you need to be sure to watch your symptoms and contact your doctor in order to be tested, and to make sure you guys have a plan with your doctor on the steps to take after. The current statistic right now is between 3 and 4% of people have died from the infection from this virus, and the majority of those are 60 plus, so over 60 years old and higher. And the younger group, again, just over 9 years old. I don't think there have been a lot of children. If you look at some of the graphs that have been displayed online, the line is here for anybody under 9, and then it gets a tiny bit bigger, and then a little bigger for each age group, and it slowly goes up. But at that 60-year-old mark, 60 to 70, it goes up significantly, and it nearly doubles 70 plus, and then triples if you're 80 plus. So it is definitely a lot more deadly if you are already fighting something, or you're old, above 60, and have some health problems. So I know quite a few of the deaths have been people with lung disease, maybe had smoked their whole life and their body was already fighting unhealthy lungs and stuff like that. So definitely don't fear if you are not in those categories. This is not something to be overwhelmed by. If you do have some underlying things or you have some concerns, you're older, you also don't need to fear too much. If you have a plan in place, you can be prepared and know what kind of plan out what you want to do once this hits your area. So that's the next subject I want to talk about, is what's going to happen once this hits my area. Or maybe you're already in an area and you know what's been happening. You've probably seen a lot of changes. The first things that might start happening are schools might be shut down, either for a short amount of time, maybe 2 weeks, or several months. You might if you work outside the home, your employer may ask you to stay home, work from home, and not with fear of contamination, especially if someone at a school or someone at your work is under suspicion of having it or has been diagnosed. There are some really, really great websites out there that help you keep informed in your area. My local county website, health department website, daily updates at noon every day, the amount of cases that are people being tested, the amount of negative cases and the amount of positive. And currently there are 0, but there are positive tests, but there are we're at 16 people being tested. And we've had 3 negative results. So of people who were tested. So it's great to be sure that every day you're checking those things, especially if you're in a risk category. Be checking those. The minute that your town or your area is affected, somebody has tested positive, that virus will spread quickly. It's like, unless they were self-quarantined at home, which if they have it, they probably weren't. They picked it up somewhere. So if you're in the higher risk category, have a plan. Watch my previous video all about preparedness and what you should have on, some things to have on hand. That will help you have the essentials. I recommend 1 to 3 months, preferably 3 months, worth of home essentials, food essentials. The things your family would need to survive just fine, comfortably, if you were stuck at home. Because that's the biggest thing that will likely happen if this hits your area, is things are going to be a little different. Your life's going to be a little more, I shouldn't say quiet, because if you have 5 kids like me, your house will be a little louder if your kids are home from school, but your life's going to be a little different. It might be a little boring sitting at home. Kids are going to get bored. So just be prepared for that. And if you have all the things you're going to need, essentials, again, watch the video, my past video. I give all the thoughts and ideas of what to stock up on for a 1 to 3 month emergency. And then just be prepared to not go and do the things that you love to do or normally do on a daily basis. You just might be at home a lot more. And I would highly recommend, if you are in the risk factor, do not risk it. If you are 80, have been a lifelong smoker, and you already struggle with some lung issues or fighting any other disease or ailment, you self-quarantine. That would be my recommendation. Self-quarantine, keep yourself at home, keep those surfaces that your kids are touching or that have heavy traffic, keep those surfaces clean, wipe door handles, toilet handles, everything, stair rails, and keep washing your hands and just stay healthy. I know a lot of areas where it's hit and lives have just changed a bit. Your kids aren't going to school. Businesses are slowing down. If you own a business, you might see some changes there. You might see way less foot traffic, obviously, and may have to prepare for that rainy day, because I'm sure the bills will continue to come, but may not see that foot traffic as a business owner. If you go to church, probably church services may be suspended for a while if anybody in your area is a carrier. And a lot of your friends and family may be affected. They may develop the disease. You may develop the disease and not even know. So those are things to be aware of and prepared for. All right, finally, I'm going to give you guys some tips, some ways to be prepared, things to think about that you might not normally think about when a virus is going around. So once this hits, here are some things to be thinking about. Cash. They have started writing articles and saying that cash can easily carry the disease, and so you should probably not use cash. Use your card, so you just swipe and put it back in your purse, and you're not touching something that a dozen other people could have touched that day, and potentially an infected person. The mail, so in Seattle, a mail carrier was actually diagnosed positive for the coronavirus. So there's a fear there that how long can it live on your mail, depending on the temperature and how long it can live on that surface. So I've already started implementing this. When I go through the mail, I either wear gloves or I go through it, toss anything that needs to toss, or, do your stuff with your mail, and then wash your hands right after you're done. So either wear gloves, throw them out when you're done, when going through the mail, just in case. But I would do that really if it's in your area. So just in case anybody else has touched that mail, how many people have touched it, or that if your mail carrier is infected. The other things I would recommend is don't travel to areas where it's very, very prevalent, obviously. And I would strongly recommend not going on any cruises right now. You've probably seen a lot of headlines and people messaging from stuck on cruises. If anybody comes down with symptoms or has it, it's not necessarily that you'll get it, but you could be quarantined because somebody near you on that ship, and they want to contain that virus. They don't want that spreading. I would also recommend not attending any super large events. I know that Comic-Con down in Seattle has been canceled or postponed till this summer. Other large events in big areas where it's already rapidly spreading have been canceled. They don't want to put a bunch of people who are like, I spent all this money on this, I'm not missing it, and maybe they're sick, go, and then the virus spreads very quickly in a large area or a big group of people. So be sure to, it may be hard, but I would definitely reconsider if you're having a large event in an area that the virus is already at or is spreading rapidly, just to minimize your risk of getting it and bringing it back to your area and sharing it with others. Also, if you're sick at all, if you're showing any symptoms of any type of sickness, stay home. It's better safe than sorry. I also wanted to mention one of the interviews I saw was of a man who had the disease, developed into pneumonia, and he talked about all his symptoms and what he had experienced. And he talked about how it started off with that raspy sore throat, and then he got the cough. Then all of a sudden he started feeling better a day or two later. So he was feeling completely normal, and then the fever spiked the next day, and he got the fever, and then that he started feeling better again, and then it developed into pneumonia. So if you've had a fever, if you're coughing and your throat is sore, I would for sure give it an extra day or two, just in case, especially if it's already spreading in your area. So be sure to think about that, because you don't want to be the ones like, here you go, everybody, have this virus, because I don't want to stay home another day. Just do it. Just stay home another day. The best success rate is going to be if people take it seriously and take any type of illness or symptom seriously, and help keep it from spreading by being smart, self-quarantine, and be sure to not spread those germs. Even if you don't suspect that's what you have, just be cautious and know those symptoms and contact your doctor so you can come up with a plan so they can get you tested. Okay? And as you'll read everywhere in the media, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. So be sure to wash your hands every time you go somewhere, every time you come home from somewhere. Our rule at home right now is the kids get home from school, they wash their hands, they change their clothes. That's pretty much the rule right now. So we make sure and no hands in eyes, mouth. I mean, it's hard to keep toddlers from doing that, but the less they are spreading germs, the better. So I don't want to end on such a downer topic, no, which it's hard to do when you're talking about a virus that could spread and has killed some people, and that can be kind of daunting and scary. But if you're prepared, that is the main thing. That's the main thing I want to try to get across. If you're prepared, you don't need to be scared. If you are smart if you are in the higher risk category, if you are smart and have a plan, you should be fine. You should take the precautions if you are in a higher risk category, and be sure to be ready. Have a plan of what you're going to do if it starts spreading in your area. And the minute it does, don't be afraid to self-quarantine. Don't be afraid, for your own health and safety, to be smart about going into large groups, going to stores where everybody's traveling if it is spreading in your area, because it is quick. It spreads quickly, and it can develop really, really quickly. And even people that you think are healthy may already have contracted the virus. So don't think just because someone's not coughing on you that you can't contract it. So keep washing your hands and being smart. The other good news is as time goes by and as it's spreading, they have more and more people working on trying to find a cure, a help for those people in those dire situations where they've developed the pneumonia. They are working on things to help people overcome that. And testing is really, really developing. They are coming out with tests that can get results quicker. That's really going to help slow this down, keep it from spreading as quickly, because if people can find out sooner if they are infected, they can quarantine quicker, and that will be a great help to keeping this from spreading so quickly in our areas. I hope I haven't made you freak out or be scared about this potential epidemic. I hope you feel more educated and more prepared to make a plan and get ready for when it hits your area. It is likely to hit your area. So please be ready. Make a plan. Know what you want to do. Watch the other video in the description about things you can buy to be ready and to have if you are self-quarantined, or if you develop the symptoms and you test positive, and how you can protect you and your family. So those are the main things: being educated, having a plan, knowing what to do if you develop the virus or your area is spreading rapidly in your area. If you have a plan and you're prepared, no need to fear. You know what to do and you have a plan of action. That is the focus of this message. Be prepared, have a plan of action, and you should be doing just fine. If you guys have any other questions, anything you want me to research a little bit more and figure out, any thoughts you have, any other data you've come across, if you want to send it my way, leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to hear other advice, other takes on this virus and what we can do to prepare. I am just doing what I know to be the best for my family, which is educating myself so that I don't have to worry, so that I can be prepared and that I can help others if the need arises. I hope you guys have a good rest of the day, stay healthy, and be sure to subscribe.